responsible for the iconic film Back to the Future. Hollywood legend Bob Zemeckis has now turned the '85 hit into a musical.
But before we talk to him, let's take a look at some of the amazing moments he's brought to screen throughout his career.
Oscar-winning director Robert Zemeckis has been hailed as an innovator of visual effects. Known for a 1980s classic, Robert used cutting-edge technology to integrate graphics and live-action footage into Back to the Future Part 2. And this cultural phenomenon, he's inserted hand-drawn animation into live action.
Just drop the refrigerator in my head one more time!
And even combined stage acting, motion capture, and computer graphics for these Christmas classics.
Hunt me no longer!
With films spanning across multiple genres, there's no limit to his talents. He may not have built a time machine, but his efforts are nothing short of extraordinary. And we are thrilled Bob Zemeckis joins us now. What a pleasure to have you here. Thank you for coming in today.
Thank you.
The beauty about what you're here to talk about is that you don't really have to sell it because everybody knows the story. It's one of those things you say, right, okay, Back to the Future. Yeah. No, I've watched that. I love that.
Yeah.
It is a part of everyone's growing up.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, which is just a thrill. Never expected that to happen, but I'm glad that it's crossed over so many generations, and so many generations of film lovers love it.
Yeah, I mean, I very recently reintroduced it to my children, so it really does keep going on. But it was your wife's idea, was it, to turn it into a musical?
Yeah, we were in yes, we were in New York, and we went and saw. I think it was we were just walking out of Mel Brooks, the producers, and she said, Back to the Future would make a magnificent musical.
Yeah.
And I went back home and called Bob Gale, my partner on this project, and said, yeah, that's a great idea. So we started thinking, how do you do something like that?
Well, which is all fair enough, but I mean, you're neighbours, you're very close to each other,
Yep.
and original sort of screenwriters on the movie, but it took 14 years.
Yeah, well, we also had day jobs, but but yeah, no, it was a long process. It was a long process, and it wasn't easy.
Well, you've done, I mean, obviously you've got the musical movies, the sort of Polar Express, things like that, but sort of musical theatre, this is the first time you've dipped your toe into that.
Yeah, first time for, Glenn, one of the composers, he's done musical theatre before, but for the rest of us, it's the first time we've ever...
How different for you?
Don't know, yeah, well, but that's kind of interesting, because, we didn't have any limitations. We didn't know what we couldn't do.
Yeah,
so,
which is quite nice, actually.
Yeah, it was kind of fun, yeah.
But the worst thing is also that you open in Manchester in February 2020.
Yeah.
And then immediately you say that date, you think, oh God.
I know.
So you open it, the massive expectation, people going, oh, this is superb, and then suddenly, bam, you're shut down.
Yeah, it was tough. It was tough. It was only for a couple of weeks, but we all know that the show's got great resilience. So we were able to survive this year and a half pretty well.
And getting the casting right, because those two characters, Doc and Marty, they're so iconic. I mean, you can hear their voice in everything you do. So to find the right person to play that must have been quite hard, actually.
Yes. Well, I can't take credit for finding the cast. Obviously, that's John Rando's. That's his expertise. But they not only have to be great actors, they have to be able to sing and dance, and it's musical theater, so they have to do a lot more. But we're looking for the spirit of what the characters were. We weren't trying to 100% mimic the movie. It was just because the show is actually a companion to the films. It's not a live recreation of the films.
And there are all sorts of things when obviously when you know you're coming on, you start looking into things. I didn't realise that the movie had been turned down by pretty much all of the studios.
Yeah, back in the day, yeah, very much so.
They didn't want to do it.
Well, well, it was a time when movies about young people, teens, were more raunchy comedies, and it wasn't appreciated at the time. So it was turned down by every studio, and a couple of them, 2 or 3 times.
How wrong they were.
They were.
So wrong. And also what would have been so wrong, I think, just because I can't get my head around it, was the DeLorean that we had in this morning, that you drove in this morning, was going to be a fridge? Is that right?
Well,
It would have been harder for me to drive that in.
So in the very early, writing of the early screenplays, Bob and I had the idea that it was like a chamber, it was sort of a little refrigerator that you stood in, and then that was put in on top of a pickup truck or something, and the dog drove it around.
You just can't imagine it.
Yeah, but then as we were starting to once the movie starts being put together and you started seeing what the logistics are, it's we quickly decided it's probably just simpler if we just turn the time machine into a vehicle.
Yeah.
And then the DeLorean was pretty infamous at the time, and it looked kind of like a spaceship, and that lent itself to a joke, and so then we just went down the road with that.
Yeah.
Had
Well,
those
I'm glad
gull-wing doors.
So am
I am glad you
Those
went down
people-
that road, because
Right,
I got to drive the DeLorean this morning and not push in a fridge, which was, would have been a
Exactly.
whole different opening to the show. I think you've said that if you had to work with one actor, it would be Tom Hanks.
Oh, you mean, if I had to choose one actor to just do every movie with, well, I've worked with magnificent actors, but, Tom is, he's just a pleasure to work with. He's a great guy, and we have a lot of fun.
What makes him so special?
Well, from a director's point of view, what makes him so special is not only is he a great actor, and not only is he completely professional, but he completely understands the medium that he's working in. So, he just understands movies, and so he knows how everything goes together and what that his character does and other characters do. And he's the most generous actor.
Well, you've done Castaway with him, you've done Forrest Gump with him, and you're doing Pinocchio.
He's playing Geppetto in Pinocchio,
all such iconic movies, everything, you seem to touch them and it's just gold. But after something like Forrest Gump, which I think a lot of people would, when you say what's your favourite film, I think a load of people would say Forrest Gump. When you step away from something like that, it's quite tough on you as a director to sort of walk away
From
directing something that's so big when you work on something that's magic.
Of course.
As that.
Well, because that's not going to happen probably again. For a movie to be that big in every sort of on every level, and appreciated like that, you don't have a lot of those in you, So I guess what happens, you ask yourself the question. So now what do I do?
Yeah.
Right. So that's where you are.
And what stage are you at with Pinocchio at the moment?
We finished shooting. We were shooting it here in the UK, and we're now back. Well, I'm based back in California, but the post-production is spread out all over the world. A lot of stuff is being done remotely, and we're in what we call the post-production side of it, but it's very elaborate, as you can imagine, because it's very much a virtual movie.
I can't wait to see that.
No,
In the meantime, much more current, Back to the Future, the musical, is at the Adelphi Theatre right now.
I'm going in a couple of weeks, can't wait. Looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thank
very
you.
much.
Well,
Thank you.
Right, we've been talking about it all morning, so